Welcome to this week's episode of The Accomplished Woman, the show for accomplished women who are serious about their retirement. This is a show with Cathy Mendell, who is the president and founder of Theia Financial. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. Cathy, my friend, it's really good to be back with you.
I know.
How are you?
One of my favorite things to do is to talk with you, Kristin, about women and finances and retirement.
I love it too. I know I've said this to you before. It is my favorite time of the week. And normally I want to catch up with you, but we have so much to cover today. We just need to get right to it.
Yeah, we do.
So we are going to be talking today about Social Security. And we've titled this episode, What's the Deal with Social Security specifically for women? That's what the heartbeat of the show is helping women prepare for a successful retirement. And of course, Social Security is a huge piece of that.
It is.
We have so much to get into. So let me just start with that. When it comes to Social Security for women, what are some of the unique things that we have to take into consideration with this all-important subject?
Right. Well, first of all, everyone has their own unique story and their own unique life. I mean, if you think about the friends that you associate with. You probably know women who are single, maybe never been married, who are single and divorced, who are widowed, who are currently married. Some people are happy with their spouse, some people are not.
Right.
You have some who were widowed with young children. You have some people who are, I mean, it's all over the board. Social Security has programs and has features to address every single one of those life circumstances.
No matter what stage you might be in.
Exactly. And in fact, some women will go through with their relationship with Social Security, when they first start to claim, they might claim as a married, and then they're widowed, or they're divorced, or then they're single. And I mean, it can go a lot of different directions. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk specifically about some of the things that are, you know, kind of universal rules. And then we're going to talk about some specifics that have to do with life circumstances.
Well, you and I both know that the rules surrounding Social Security can be very complicated. I mean, 81 different age combinations, 567 different math calculations that can go into this, because people have to figure out when is the right time for them to start claiming Social Security. So I guess my first question is, how much does the accomplished woman really need to know about all the nitty-gritty? Because you and I geek out on this stuff, but let's be real. There are so many complex rules out there, and we want to break it down and make it as simple as possible for you. So let's start with what does someone really need to understand?
Well, you know, I think the first step is just simply get your statement and take a look at it. Sometimes
meaning your Social Security statement.
Exactly, your Social Security statement. Go to socialsecurity.gov. If you haven't set up an account, you go to Social Security or ssa.gov. You click on My Benefits. And if you haven't established an account yet, you want to be sure that you do that. Remember your password, okay? Because if you forget it, it's a real hassle to reset it.
It is, trust me, from personal experience. You don't want to lose that password.
Okay, so they don't mail statements anymore, so you have to download them. Download it, take a look at it, and just look at the information that's on there. That's really the first step. Sometimes when we're doing planning and when we're helping a person put together their retirement, there isn't any other opportunities for them for Social Security. It is what it is.
Right.
But that is not the case in a lot of circumstances. And what I will say is that if you don't understand what opportunities are there for you, you could miss out on benefits that you could be realizing, and assets that you should be having, and you just didn't even know to get them. So I have some stories about that today.
And we're definitely going to get into those, because the goal is to optimize and maximize what a person is entitled to.
What they're entitled to. And everything is based on, when you go in and talk with Social Security, they cannot give you financial advice. They cannot set you up for success with your retirement finances. They can answer the question that is specific to you on the day you're asking.
Yes, they can give you information, but they cannot give you advice based on your individual personal situation. And this is why it's so valuable for women to be able to, you know, sort through this with you based on their individual needs.
Exactly. So today what's going to happen is we're going to talk about married. We're going to talk about divorced. We're going to talk about being single. We're going to talk. We have a lot of things to talk about. Yes. What I would encourage you to do is just listen to these and think about, well, that one doesn't apply to me. You know, if it doesn't apply to you, that's fine. But listen to the pieces of it, because one thing that's interesting to me is that the rumor mill about Social Security, somebody that you trust or know, they'll give you a factoid about Social Security. It turns out it's not true at all.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So you don't want to go by rumor or by what somebody else has said. You really need to know how to maximize this benefit for yourself.
For sure. Well, and I think one of the misconceptions, a lot of people think, oh, great, I've turned 62. It's time to turn on that Social Security faucet. But that might not be the right decision for you. So let me ask you, Cathy, before we go to our first commercial break, I'd love for us to dive a little more deeply into what are some of the key facts that women need to know about Social Security? If we just want to boil it down to the most important things,
sure.
What are those things?
So there's actually, there's 4 numbers you want to know, okay? At age 60, if you're a widow, you can start receiving widow's benefits. So that's an important number. At age 62, everyone's entitled to turn on their Social Security. Probably shouldn't do that. It's not always your best choice, unless you're retiring at 57. Then I would say there's a real argument for doing that. But if you turn it on at age 62, you'll take about a 30% haircut on the monthly check. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Then there's the full retirement age, and that's a little different number for every person, but it's like this magic genie pops out of the bottle, and they get rid of all the penalties, and they start giving you gifts. And I mean, a lot of things unlock at your full retirement age, and sometimes there's enough benefit of waiting that it makes a difference to wait. And
it's important to note that the full retirement age is based on the year that you're born. So it could be as specific as 66 and 4 months, right? I mean, it could just be exactly depending on the year that you were born. Yeah, and on the Social Security statement, you kind of have to be careful about that, because it doesn't, the new version of it, it doesn't identify it as easily as it used to. So, good to know. And then the other age that you want to be aware of is age 70. Now, age 70, whether you need it or not, Social Security will start, because that's the last age for you to file. So you need to file and then start receiving your Social Security by then. The other thing you want to be aware of is that Social Security benefits, when you talk to someone or when you look at your statement, it's only based on your work history. And it's based on 35 years of your work history. Of your highest earning. Your highest earnings. Right? So it'll show 40, but it's going to be your 35 highest is where the calculations are made. And so you can actually use the Social Security statement as kind of a decision factor on retiring, you know, looking at how many zeros you have in there. Everybody has zeros in their Social Security statements. Talk about why that is. Well, especially true for women, because a lot of women, when they started families, they wanted to be home with their kids. And so they didn't have a wage that they were paying Social Security taxes on. So they'll have some zeros there. It may be that you went back to college or to university, and so you didn't work for a while. Or there's a variety of reasons, but your work history doesn't have to be 35 consecutive years. It's just they take your top 35 years. So if you're trying to decide, you know, would it be worthwhile for me to continue to work, or is it going to matter? I will tell you this. Usually when you get to the age where you're starting to wonder about that, you're in your highest earning years. And every year that you work, you lose a zero. And actually the ramifications of that are actually kind of huge. You can see the difference each year in the statement as they recalculate based on losing some zeros and adding income. So, you know, that's an important one as well. And again, it's based on your work history. You don't have to have, you know, you might have worked in and out of the workforce during those years. So like I said, it's not consecutive. It's just that you have to have 30, or you need 35 years. And then they're going to look at, Social Security is going to look at you in one of 4 categories. Okay. So they're going to look at you as an individual worker. Everyone is looked at that way. They're going to look at you as a spouse, as a ex-spouse, or as a surviving spouse. Gosh, those are the 4 categories. And there's such unique things that we need to unpack for each one of those categories. I'm just so glad that you are navigating this and helping women navigate through this, because as we've said, you and I know how complicated this is. But before we go to commercial, I do want to just re-presence. You were telling people about downloading their statement from SSA.gov. So let's say that you go ahead, you do that, you get your statement, but they want you to help walk them through, to be able to give them that personalized advice. What can they do? Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, what you want to do is you want to look at the role that Social Security is going to play in your retirement. It's one of the guaranteed incomes that you're going to have, and it's going to last your entire life. So it's a very big decision when you start your Social Security, when you turn it on, what are the other assets that you have? There's a lot that goes into thinking about this. And if you're thinking to yourself, I need to get serious here. I need to pay attention to this. And maybe you're trying to make some decisions about retirement and you want to understand what the ramifications are of Social Security. Give us a call. You can call 866-724-4927. And what's going to happen with that is that you'll have a 15-minute Zoom call with me, and we get to get acquainted. We get to talk about your questions, answer your questions, but also begin to look at what have you done so far? Where are you at with your financial planning for retirement? And it would be such a pleasure to get to know you better. So give us a call, 866-724-4927.
Cathy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but don't go anywhere. We have so much more to dive into regarding Social Security and what it means for you as an accomplished woman. But we encourage you during this break, the number to call is on the bottom of your screen, 866-724-4927. You're also welcome to take out your smartphone. Simply scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page and ask you a few simple questions, and a member of the team at Theia Financial will reach out to you to be able to schedule your complimentary Zoom call with Cathy herself. We are going to dive back into these categories, whether you are single, married, divorced, if you're a widow, and what that means for you and your Social Security check. More after this.
As your life unfolds, sometimes you don't see the future. You're in the moment. You're doing what you do in the moment, right? As an example, we have an orphanage in Kenya. Who would have ever dreamed we would do that? We didn't set out to do that. It happened. Worked for the Tupperware Corporation world headquarters for about 20 years. And one day I thought, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be inside of what's happening in families. I want to be in people's lives. I decided to open a financial firm that is not geographically constrained, that anyone can get involved with, that was really focused on women. Because I feel like women have a little different priority. They see money a little differently than a lot of men do. Very accomplished women, very capable. They've been managing money their whole life. They understand the need to save, and they have saved money, and they have put time in to make sure they have a future retirement that works. They know that they need to reach out, and they know they need to work with a company that really can help them move forward securely. And that's our passion. That's what we're doing.
Welcome back to The Accomplished Woman with Cathy Mendell. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and Cathy and I are having a lively discussion today about all things Social Security and what it means for you as an accomplished woman. Cathy, before the commercial break, we mentioned the 4 categories that can affect women. So whether you're married, if you're divorced, if you're single, if you're a widow, there's different rules that apply to you when it comes to Social Security. So let's start with if you are currently married. What are some of the rules that women need to understand about Social Security if they are currently married?
That's a great big subject.
It is. We're going to do our best to unpack it.
We're going to do our best. Okay. So as a partner, you have a couple of options when you file for Social Security. Now, most married couples will try to coordinate their benefits. So that sometimes they both want to retire together, and so they decide to both start claiming at the same time. Okay. You can either claim on your record, or you can claim a spousal benefit. So that's an option. So you actually have 2 options when you go in to claim. Now, if you're on your record, it's based on your personal work history, your 35 years, the formulas are applied to it, and it comes up with your Social Security benefit.
Right.
Let's just say that you had the opportunity to be home. Maybe you decided to stay home until the kids were in high school, okay? And you really wanted to be present in their lives.
And that's
you
what
were
my
there.
mom did. So
Is that right?
I know that firsthand.
Okay. Yeah. So, or you may have had a business where you didn't pay Social Security.
Right.
I mean, that's an option. That's something that could have happened there too. But either way, let's say that your Social Security is smaller, or his is smaller. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
One of yours is smaller. Then when you go in to apply, you will be given the option of a spousal benefit is also on the table. Now, how a spousal benefit works, first of all, there's a couple of rules. At your full retirement age, you can receive 50% of what your spouse would receive at full retirement age.
Okay.
So for easy math, let's say at full retirement age of 67, your spouse files for their benefits.
Okay.
You wait until you're 67 and you file for a spousal benefit. You would get 50% of theirs. So if they're getting $2,000, you would get $1,000. So the family benefit would be $3,000
total, right?
Let's say that your spouse files at 67, it's $2,000, but you want to file at the same time he or she does, and you're 64. So what happens then? Well, you would either get yours, or you would get, I have this written down just to make sure I can say it,
Yes.
you would get, instead of 1,000, you would get 750. Okay?
Yep.
So you get 750. Another option, let's say that your spouse doesn't file and you decide to go ahead and file, and they're going to wait for a bit. Okay? So you file, you get whatever yours would be. Let's say it's $600 or $800 or whatever the number is, and then your spouse files at full retirement age or even later at full retirement age. There's a concept called a top-up.
Okay.
So
a top up.
A top up,
All right.
yes. So at that point, they would recalculate your benefit and say, okay, your spousal benefit would have been higher, but you did file earlier, so you don't get exactly 50%, maybe a little bit less. But you would just notice that your check went up $200-300, and it would go on from there. So there's lots of little things. A lot of this is automated inside of Social Security. You don't actually have to know. But what I will tell you is you do have to, if you're working with a financial advisor who is skilled with Social Security and building a retirement income plan, that's who you want to be working with, by the way, as you go into retirement. Don't use the same person that was the accumulation person that you started working with when you were 30, because there's a lot of knowledge base that needs to be known so that you get good counseling and coaching on how to make the most of these benefits. You could file on your own benefit, not even know that it could have been more.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Because if you, like we said earlier in the first segment, if you call Social Security and just say, hey, how much am I going to get? They're just going to tell you that information. They're not going to sit down and strategize, okay, are you married? Who's making more? What's the better option to take to maximize and optimize what you're actually entitled to?
Well, not only that, but the spousal benefit is not on your statement.
Right.
It's the only thing you see on your statement is your work history. It has nothing to do with the work history of your spouse.
It's a really important distinction to know.
Yes. So that's why it's important to have a good coach, or it's really hard to get into Social Security today. To go in and have a physical appointment is difficult.
Yes.
A lot of times it's a phone appointment, but having the information to ask the right kind of questions to be sure that you're making the best decision possible.
Right. To even know what kind of questions you should be asking, right?
Thing,
you don't know what you don't know. And that's why I'm so glad that you help women navigate through this.
Yes, exactly. What we're interested in as a firm is to maximize your retirement income resources to give you the greatest amount of income to make your life work, to be happy, and to give you what you long for, which is financial security that lasts through your entire life. And Social Security is definitely a part of that, because it does pay you through your entire life.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, before we go to our next commercial break, could you share a little bit about a couple that you've helped where you've enabled them to be able to coordinate their benefits, and being able, like, what that process was like to walk through that with someone and help them see, okay, this is the right strategy for you to employ?
Right, exactly. So I'll just talk about Phil and Carolyn, because they're somebody I worked with recently. So Phil is 65 and Carolyn is 62.
Okay.
And the question is that he does have the larger benefit, but he wants to wait until he is 70 to claim. Okay? Now, why would he want to wait till he is 70? Well, the reason he wants to wait is because if he should pass away, Carolyn would step into his benefit. They actually call it stepping into his shoes. She would get his full retirement benefit. It would become hers. She would lose hers, but she would receive his. Well, his is actually pretty good size. So, and hers is not. So she could go ahead and turn on her Social Security now. just enjoy the extra money, maybe use it as their travel fund or whatever. And because down the road, if he should pass away first, she will get his full benefit.
Right.
She'll lose hers. If she should pass away, hers goes away and he keeps his. But his concern is making sure that she would have a robust income later in life. So at age 70, his benefit would be almost $4,500 a month.
Wow.
And that's what he's looking for, is that
maximizing that
yes.
amount. Yep.
With Carolyn at age 62, if she wanted to wait until age 67 and take advantage of the spousal benefit, she could do that.
Right.
And she would receive about $1,400 a month. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with that either if she wanted to wait. In this case, Carolyn didn't want to wait. They wanted to go ahead and retire. They're going to use other funds to fund their retirement, and he wants that, he calls it his life insurance policy on himself for his wife. So Carolyn can participate in the top up or top off is what they call it, when he retires. And if she files on her own record and then he retires, then her benefit would go up because she would have some spousal benefit available to her.
Wow. So, I mean, there's so much strategizing that goes into this, right?
Make sure I spin around like this, right?
But this is what you do day in and day out for women.
It is. And I've had clients come in and say to me, when I asked my advisor about Social Security, because he told me, you know, we'll change your allocation in retirement and you should be fine. And they ask about Social Security or taxes, and they say, well, you need to go see your CPA or go to the Social Security office. The Social Security office can't do this for you.
Right.
That's not their job. Their job is to give you the details on the day that you go in. They can't say, well, if you wait and do this, or if you coordinate with that. They can't do that. So they're not enabled to do that. They don't know your other assets.
Right.
They don't know what kind of lifestyle you're going to lead.
Yep.
So it's really important that you're working with a financial advisor and firm that really focuses in and understands all the nuances of these programs, because they're very important programs.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what we do at Theia Financial. So
yeah, so if someone's ready to pick up the phone and they're like, Cathy, I need help, walk me through this, what should they do?
Absolutely. All they need to do is just give us a call. You dial 866-724-4927. Now, one of our team will answer the call, and we will set up a time for a 15-minute Zoom call. First of all, we're just going to get acquainted. So much fun to meet people around the country as they call in and ask questions about the topics that we've been discussing. But we'll definitely talk about Social Security. We'll also talk about your financial income plan for retirement. We're going to look at that together. And then if you need some help improving that or whatever, we're totally willing to do that. However, it doesn't happen on the 15-minute call. Okay, 15-minute call is just to get acquainted and kind of get a feel for maybe answering specific questions, and then also scheduling later for a little more time, or we have more time to visit.
Wonderful. Cathy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is on the bottom of your screen, 866-724-4927. You're also welcome to scan that QR code, and that will get you connected to set up your complimentary Zoom call with Cathy and the team at Theia Financial. When we come back, we're going to be diving into this question of, if you're divorced, did you know that you might still be able to collect a benefit off your ex-spouse? We'll tell you how right after this.
We've all experienced those coulda, shoulda, woulda moments. When it comes to retirement, there are no do-overs. At Theia Financial, we understand the importance of retirement planning and turning your savings into reliable income you can count on. Retirement is more than just financial security. It's about spending quality time with your loved ones, embracing your creativity and pursuing your life's passions, and discovering the countless marvels that make our world a truly remarkable place. With a belief in the power of preparation, we work with accomplished women to design personalized plans. Don't leave retirement planning up to chance. Take control of your financial future and turn your retirement dreams into a long-lasting reality. Contact us today to schedule your free consultation.
Welcome back to The Accomplished Woman with Cathy Mendell. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and we've been talking today all about Social Security, specifically for women. And Cathy, I know we talked a lot in the first segment about, married couples and what that means for you if you're currently married. What if a woman is currently divorced or has been divorced? How do the Social Security rules change in that situation?
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity here. One of the things I want to point out is that you do not have to consult your ex-spouse. Okay. You don't even have to talk to them. They don't have to know that you're filing a spousal benefit.
And the Social Security Administration won't even tell them.
No, they won't.
Right.
So, just saying.
Free money, maybe, right?
If there's a little bit of anxiety there, don't worry about that. Okay. The rules are is you have to have been married 10 years. Now, it's not 9 years and 6 months. It is a full 10 years. And you have to have been divorced for at least 2 years.
Right.
Now, if that's the case, when you file for Social Security, you can file on your own record, just like we talked about for married couples, or you can file for a spousal benefit, which is the same rules as for married couples, which is 50% of their retirement benefit at full retirement age. If you file earlier than full retirement age, it'll be less than that. But what you want to do is you want to ask Social Security, talk to them about which will give me the greatest benefit. You have to ask the question because otherwise it's what's on your statement.
Right. And again, as we've said already in the show, we can't say it enough, they cannot give you that individual advice on your personal situation to find out about how you can optimize and maximize what you're actually entitled to.
Another rule that's different than being married is that on a married couple to get a spousal benefit, your spouse has to be has to have already filed.
Okay.
As a divorcee, they don't have to have filed.
That's so interesting, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah, and maybe that's because they think you're not going to want to talk to each other.
Right.
Okay.
Fair enough, right?
Yeah. And one more rule is you do have to be unmarried to collect a spousal benefit.
Okay, so you can't have already married somebody else.
Exactly. If you've already married somebody else, they consider that to be the spouse that you can collect on.
Right.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So yeah, so that's an important. The rules are a little bit different for a divorce, but you know, I had a client. Her name was Maggie, and we were working together on her financial income plan. She was like 68, and I said, Maggie. She told me she had been divorced, and I said, how long were you married? And she said 18 years. Wow. And I said, why aren't you collecting a spousal benefit? Because she could have been the whole time.
But who knows this, right?
She didn't know.
Right.
So all this, at her full retirement age, which at the time was 66, she had 2 years of income that she didn't get because she didn't know the rules. That's why it's so important to talk with somebody. If you talk to your financial advisor and they can't answer these kind of questions, then I'm going to suggest to you that it might be time to move on to somebody that's more specialized in this field of Social Security claiming strategies.
And no doubt you've been able to help so many women and enlighten them, because in that kind of situation, again, you don't know what you don't know. How many other women are watching right now and you might be thinking, well, gosh, I fit that bill. I was married for 10 years. I've been divorced for over 2. I haven't remarried. You know, the crazy thing is if you've had multiple ex-spouses, you can actually collect on all of them, right?
Right.
And they won't even know. So.
The highest one.
Right, the highest one, yes.
Yeah. Just another story. Keith and Susan. Keith was a neurosurgeon. Susan stayed home with their children until they were in high school, and then she went back to her teaching field. She was teaching 3rd grade, and she retired at age 66. Okay. Well, Keith had not started his Social Security yet, but she was able to do a spousal benefit because her Social Security, since she had such a gap in having paid in, was only going to be like $600 a month. When she filed for Social Security, we looked at, I had her call Social Security, and it was about $1,400 a month.
Wow.
That's a big difference.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So listen, if you're watching today and you want help with this, we encourage you, pick up the phone and call 866-724-4927. We're going to be back next week with part 2 of Social Security, since there's so much more to cover. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.